smacking down conspiracy theorists, they're kind of conspiracy theorists too.
Yeah.
Like, you're just jumping to this really wild conclusion of like something that's highly unlikely as well. Yeah, I find all that stuff kind of interesting, and I just I'm never, once you know what the government really does, you know, I wouldn't put it past them to do any of this shit, and I'm willing to look into it. But a lot of things, like, you know, what I was saying before is that even if you don't have the answer to the question necessarily, or you don't know what happened here, you just see the way the media moves, and it's fucking shady. And I gotta say, again, I made this point with the Pizzagate thing, but you're like, okay, so if this Pizzagate thing happens, and you're a real journalist, okay? Let's say you're a real journalist and you think this is absolute nonsense. Oh, come on, the Clintons are running a pedophilia ring. This is complete bullshit. Your reaction as an honest journalist would be, very obviously, okay, let's get to the bottom of this. We got these emails. You were using code. John Podesta, please put this to bed once and for all. What were these codes? What did this email mean? What did this mean? Because it's kind of shady what the codes are. And they're supposedly known for being like codes that, you know, refer to like little boys and girls. And so you'd want to get to the bottom of it. In this situation again with the Seth Rich thing, you'd be like, let's just get to the bottom and let's just prove that this guy wasn't let's expose this so it'll put this all to bed. But instead they have this opposite reaction. They have this opposite reaction where, like, you're fucking ruined if you talk about it. You fucking mention this and you're ruined. And then it's like shaming anyone from even talking about it. So they'll be like, Pizzagate. Oh, those fucking retards who believe Pizzagates. Oh, what are you, one of those wacko conspiracy theorists, you know? You're like, well, you're not doing anything to, like, disprove it. So why the fuck are you? So this is your response? Now, I don't know about you guys listening, but that seems fairly shady to me. That seems shady that it's just like this thing, like, you're not even allowed to go there. You go there and you're wrong. I'll tell you, you know, what's interesting is that in large part, I think America's onto this. This is the one libertarian glimmer of hope that we have right now. Libertarian ideology did not, you know, has had a rough few years, but America is onto this bullshit, and they're starting to see through it. And anyway, I wanted to, okay, we'll get into this now. So Rob, you actually sent me this article, a New York Times article, which I'm not sure if it was printed in the paper or if this is just online. Does it say there? Okay. Well, it's a New York Times article by Jim Rutenberg. A Jew, I'd imagine. But I found this really, really fascinating. Okay, now this is. I was saying to Rob, I go, if you almost like, it's like they don't even realize that they're making Alex Jones' case for him, because if you read this article, he takes it as a given that this conspiracy stuff is trash and the New York Times point of view is the right one. But if you just question that one assertion, I found this article tremendously revealing. But this was an article about what's going on at Fox News and the Seth Rich situation. And the fact that Seth Rich's family had reached out and asked, I guess, Hannity to stop talking about this, which, you know, to any honest observer would mean absolutely nothing, right? Like, who the fuck cares about what your family's opinion? It's a very weird thing. It's like, yeah, okay, you just, like, lost a family member and you're going through, you don't want to talk about it. Okay, that's great. But there's accusations that he is the leaker, which is the biggest story on the planet, so we're going to keep looking into it. Sorry, this is what like, you know, got to figure that out. It's a little bit bigger than your feelings, but turn off the TV by all means, because this is going to suck for you. Sorry. Sucks about your kid being murdered. I don't know, it's horrible, but, like, we're not going to, why is the New York Times writing about this? Anyway, okay, so I want to read this for a little bit, and really, okay. Let's get into this. If we can learn anything from the latest triple bank shot of a conspiracy theory coursing through the alt-reality media, this one involving the unsolved murder of a Democratic National Committee staff member named Seth Rich, it's this: fake news dies hard. All right, so that's this guy's kind of outlet, and he'll give you that right from the beginning. But if for a second you question who the fake news is, I think this starts to become a much more revealing article. He goes on. God knows people have tried. In the last few months, journalists, academics, technology experts, civic-minded foundations, and well-intentioned politicos have devoted decades of collective brain hours to an all-hands effort to staunch the conspiracy theories and outright falsehoods roiling our democracy. Is that not kind of crazy? Now, if you just don't forget the assertion that this is the most horrible thing ever and that these are falsehoods, okay? Is he not giving you the conspiracy? Because this is what we do when an idea that goes against our narrative is presented. God knows people have tried. I'm reading this again. In the last few months, journalists, academics, technology experts, civic-minded foundations, and well-intentioned, I'll put that one in quotes, politicos have devoted decades of collective brain hours to an all-hands effort. Is that... I don't know about you, Rob, but if my version of the story is the truth, and you're giving some ridiculous, untrue version of the story, why would I have to put in all of these collective brain hours to make sure that you can't have one platform? I mean, I'm dying for just one platform that tells the fucking truth. Just one out there that's like a big mainstream platform that tells the truth. That would be amazing. I can't ever imagine having the truth and feeling this need that the untruth needs to be silenced and that we need to get everyone together. We need journalists, academic, technology experts, civic-minded foundations, whatever the fuck that means, and politicos to all go make sure we shut down dissenting information. I think this is a weird thing to admit and not even realize. Like, this is the disconnect between like mainstream liberal media. They don't even realize like that they're just giving you away that like we don't allow other points of view.
It's crazy.
You can't even have this theory. You can't even ask about this murder. This murder, like even as you were saying, okay, so if the fact is what you're saying, like this is the truth, that he got, like shot in the back and this, innocent guy in a robbery. And you're like, well, what happened was like basically the likelihood of him getting struck by lightning. It's like, we can't question the likelihood that a DNC staffer gets struck by lightning. Like, even if that's the official story, we can't have a talk about this before we get into it.
The other thing that's just is a little bit crazy is like, let's say, fine, this guy's not the leaker. So you've said this before. There's truth behind conspiracy theories. The fact that people are opening up their minds and thinking, oh, is this really the narrative, the Russia thing, or is there a possibility that something else was happening? To me, it's like, oh, this is great. People are thinking about what is the role of government in my life. They're starting to think about the angles, look at the incentives, try and create a whole picture.
And thinking that maybe there's some fucking nefarious people at the back of it. Like maybe, see, there's a big thing to me that if you notice, and I've made this point, that the mainstream media does the equal opposite thing that Alex Jones does. Okay, I made this point when I was talking about Chris Hansen, where the Alex Jones, it's always like, is there a government plane with some dust flying from it? Oh, they must be, they're polluting the sky, but they're doing that to turn the frogs gay. And then there's this whole thing, it's always that evil thing behind every door. But the mainstream media does the opposite. I mean, they always are a noble person behind every door. It was amazing to me, sitting there listening to Chris Hansen explain to me he's sure that Bill Clinton was just having a friendly conversation with Loretta Lynch. He goes, I'm sure they just happened to be on the same tarmac, and then he knocked on their door, and they talked about it. I go, you really think Bill Clinton had a secret meeting with the head of the Justice Department while his wife was under investigation, and that didn't come up? Like, you're going out on more of a limb than Alex Jones is to think that there's so, and then you start to go like, well, I'd kind of rather, look, I like the idea of them at least entertaining the possibility that reality isn't true. There's a reason why the mainstream needs you to project this nobility onto them. They need that, because otherwise once you start to question it, you go, well, what if they're ripping you off? And then it all starts to fall apart, because it all makes a lot more sense if they're ripping you off. It makes everything falls into place if they're ripping you off. If they're do-gooders, then why wouldn't they be? If they're do-gooders, these pieces don't add up. None of them do. If you're do-gooders, you really care about, Assad gassing his own people. Well, what about beheading your own people? Like, is that much better? So we give Saudis weapons? I mean, that doesn't make any sense. But if it's about who does business with American corporations, everything falls into line. Then all of a sudden, all of your actions make complete sense. So, anyway, I want to read a little bit more of this article, because this is pretty fascinating to me, okay? Facebook and Google, this is from the article, Facebook and Google have worked up new computer formulas and dispatched dedicated teams of humans to push the coercive stuff off their platforms, or, at the very least, to let readers know when something doesn't look right. And of course, what doesn't look right? I mean, what could be more wrong than what are, who determines what is fake fucking news? And of course, the New York Times, who again doesn't seem to have like a major reaction to CNN having a fake fucking debate where they were presenting these questions that one of the candidates had been exposed to. That's not fake news though. That's not, affecting the outcome of democracy. That's fine. The run up to Iraq, of course you could leave. How about when Obama was saying if you like your doctor, you can keep your doctor? Where was the fake news that broke that? My whole fucking intro to this show is presidents lying through their teeth. And it's reported as news, but no one's blowing up these fucking lies. But now all of a sudden the lies on the... So it's the lies we don't like. Facebook and Google are working on these algorithms. Back to the article. Ad makers are pulling their advertising from sites that run false items. And educators are working up, quote... Listen to this. Quote! This is quoting from the article. And educators are working up, quote... news literacy programs to teach students how to tell the difference between real, corroborated journalism and naked lies dressed in the colors of veracity. But, as the Seth Rich story shows, we're going to need a bigger algorithm. How fucking creepy is that, man? So basically, we are involved in a systematic effort that goes all the way from lawmakers to academics to journalists to advocacy groups to social media companies to make sure that you're not allowed to talk about these stories. And my conclusion from that is we're going to have to ramp it up because people still think Hillary Clinton's a fucking murderer. They think some really evil shit's going on here. And you know what? Here's the fucking truth, right? Here's what I think any honest person, and this is why we're all somewhat sympathetic to the conspiracy guys, right? It's like any honest person who's like, if you study the CIA at all, right? And then someone's like, I think the CIA is doing this really fucking evil, crazy thing. You're like, I get why you're thinking that. Even if that really evil, crazy thing that you're talking about is wrong, I get why you're thinking that. Because yes, at the end of the day, your essential gut instinct is right. These are a bunch of killers who are doing some crazy evil shit. Your essential gut instinct is right. Hillary Clinton's a fucking killer who they're putting out there as a noble person. And you smell that. It's like those Occupy Wall Street kids. They smelled it on the banks. Yeah, none of them know anything about economics. But they know this is fucked up. This is fucked up. Those banks just got bailed out. They fucking wreck the economy, they get these bonuses, and then they get bailed out? That's bullshit. You don't need a degree in economics to know that's bullshit. And, people are on to this. But it's fucking so revealing. They're just putting it out there. Like, this is it. You're not allowed to have dissenting opinions. And we have to systematically, culturally find a way to root this out. And, I don't know. Number one, it's revealing. I love it when this stuff comes up. It just reveals their hand. This is who they are. They're fucking tyrants, and they don't believe in free speech. And two, I don't know, man. I don't know who believes they have the truth on their side needs to do this bullshit.